I just watched 6 Minutes to Midnight, which is a kind of indie film. It's released on Sky Cinema, it only just came out, and it's basically about there's this boarding school for German girls, but it's in the English East Coast, and all the girls there are the daughters and goddaughters and that of Nazi high command, and so the British secret intelligence want to keep an eye on the school because they're obviously like Nazi sympathisers. Eddie Izzard plays a spy who poses as a teacher to kind of check up on the school and see what's going on. And the headmistress is played by Judi Dench, and there's some really good cast members. Jim Broadbent plays their bus driver who drives them from the school to the coast and stuff like that. I actually watched this film at 6 Minutes to Midnight last night, which, when I say it out loud, is actually a very boring fact, so I maybe didn't need to bring it up, but I thought it was interesting. I watched it quite late at night. Yeah, I only watched it because I saw an interview with Eddie Izzard talking about it, and I thought, you know what, I'll give it a watch, because I'd never seen him in a dramatic role before, so I thought it might be interesting. I've only really seen him as a by the way, I'm saying him and he, but I know I went on Wikipedia, and he says you can use either. And he's playing a male in the film, so I thought it would just be easier. Yes, I only really seen him do comedy, and I'm not a big fan of Eddie Izzard's comedy. It's kind of just like, oh, wouldn't it be funny if a panda ate a cake? Oh, how would it eat a cake? Would it use claws or would it use a fork? Imagine a panda trying to use a fork. It's not really my sort of thing, but I actually have a lot of respect for him because he does obviously loads of stand-up in like 3 different languages and runs a ridiculous amount of marathons. I know like this last month he did 32 marathons in 31 days, but on a treadmill, and before has done like 40 and 40 days and stuff like that. So he must have done like over 100, and fair enough. And also he's going into politics, and like even if you don't agree with his politics, like he's taking it more seriously than other TV personalities. So I like him as a guy. So I wanted to see him do serious acting, and apparently that's why he got into the industry. It was to be a serious dramatic actor, and he just ended up taking the long route to get there. And no, I thought he was pretty good. It was a little bit hard at moments to take him seriously, just because I can just imagine him on stage talking about like pandas eating cakes. The film itself it's the sort of film where I'm not going to remember it for years to come. Like, you know, it's not, well, I probably will, but I'm not going to be like rewatching it loads, and it's not that great, but it's also, it entertained me for the evening, it entertained me for the night, and I think as a filmmaker you should kind of don't get your hopes up too much. You should kind of just aim to just entertain people, make people happy for an evening, and I think it definitely succeeded with that. I think the plot got very silly as it progressed. They do lots of twists. I mean, it's a spy thriller, and it very much lives within that genre. Yeah, so they get a bit, they kind of do all the cliches, and I don't think it actually seemed particularly cliche. Well, there was a lot of sort of, this person's a spy and all that. I don't want to ruin it, but it was they did a lot of twists like as it progressed, which were a bit like, oh, here's another twist, here's another one, and it was a bit like, oh Jesus. It was maybe a bit much, but no, I did like it. The screenplay was all right. They did sort of show don't tell quite well. There was there was just some shocking imagery at the start, seeing all these schoolgirls in England, but they've got a big Nazi big swastikas on their vest and stuff. And actually, when I was watching the film, I didn't know if it was real. I didn't know if it was a true story or not. I never looked it up. I only found out at the end, and I kind of worked out. I figured when I was watching it, I bet the school was real, but the whole spy story isn't. And yeah, so that's how it is. It says at the end, like, so the school was real. There was an all-girls boarding school with for the daughters and goddaughters of Nazi high command, and the headmistress of that school had the same name as Judi Dench's character, although I believe apart from that she's completely fictional. Jim Broadbent's character of Charlie the bus driver is Eddie Izzard's grandfather, but he's not involved in that school, I don't think. I think it's just because Eddie Izzard grew up in this town where it's set, and so that's how he found out about the story. And yeah, otherwise all the spy stuff is fake, and I think I could kind of tell that was all made up. But I don't know, it reminded me a lot of the 2016 Dad's Army movie or something, where it's a similar sort of spy thriller. And also, I think the thing with that is there was a lot of problems with it. I mean, I thought at the end of the day that was nowhere near as good as the original sitcom. So it was, that's the same thing. I mean, it entertained me for the evening, but it's not sensational. It wasn't anything that special, but it was. I had a fun time at the cinema watching it, and I had a fun time watching this on my laptop. It was pretty fun. It was interesting to see Eddie Izzard being serious, and I'd like to see it again. I'd like to see him as a dramatic leading role, because it felt weird, but it was also like, I mean, he's clearly he could be a spy. He runs a ridiculous amount of marathons. He's clearly very fit. For I don't know how old he is. I think nearly 60. Yeah, I mean Judi Dench I thought was a bit. Judi Dench is a sort of actor where like I do like her, but at the end of the day, she's just the same in everything, and so I'm a bit sick of. I feel like how it must be boring to be that kind of actress. Surely you want to do all these different things, whereas she's. I mean, I guess she's slightly different to in James Bond and all the other, but she delivers. So like even it's written differently, but she performs it exactly the same, like the same tone of speech, the same like accent, the same. Judi Dench is Judi Dench. Jim Broadbent is very different though. I've never seen him like this before. And we get to see the girls a bit, who are in the school. I don't think they're particularly main characters. Maybe we should see their perspective a bit more. We only really see two of them. I mean, you see the same few faces every so often, so you kind of. I think you hear some of their names, but it's only really the popular girl who's kind of a bit mean and the girl who's got no friends. So they're kind of stereotypes of a school. They're not. There's not really much more to their characters, and so I feel like we kind of should have got to know them. We hear that they're the daughters and goddaughters of Nazi high command, but we don't really know individually who they're related to and how that would matter. We don't really see their point of view. It's all very much from the point of view of Eddie Izzard's character. I feel like in me saying it's nothing sensational but it entertained me for the evening means that that's a fundamentally 3-star film. But I think I'm just in a good mood. And at the end of the day, I can't really pinpoint that much that was wrong with it. I mean, it was apart from just being a bit silly, and also I think because lots of the reviews I've seen online are quite negative. It's got 34% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's got 5.7 on IMDb. It's got 50 out of 100 on Metacritic. Like people aren't being very positive towards it, and I don't think there's really anything wrong with it. Like I feel like when you've got that low down, it's really like you disliking it on the whole, whereas. I don't know why you would dislike it. It's harmless. It's completely harmless. And yeah, it was fine. It entertained me. It was alright.